The E30 is widely regarded as one of the best driver's cars of all time. But as an owner of one for the last decade, I really wanted to dive into that subject and see if the E30 truly is one of the best cars of all time. To anyone in the know, the E30 has long been known as God's chariot, for the reason being that they say if God could pick only one car, he would pick the E30. Now, as someone who's owned multiple E30s, I don't know if that's necessarily the truth, but what I would like to do is discuss my ownership of an E30 and talk to you about my opinions on whether it really is that good of a car. I would like to start with the positives, though, that being that for a 40-year-old car, there's still plenty of people who daily drive these and they're still fairly reliable. They're a really good car. They've gained a lot of value. So if you were lucky enough to purchase one early on, you will have looked at it as an actual investment rather than just a car or a fun toy to have. They are pretty cool. Certainly, a lot of people in the hobby, and not even just European cars, but who are into cars as a whole, certainly all know what an E30 is. They're greatly loved, and pretty much you can go anywhere, anyone's going to know what it is. And I can tell you, as an owner and have driven them for quite a long time, it doesn't matter where you go. Anytime I'm out in mine, whether it's a gas station or to the grocery store, I'm getting multiple compliments. And so it is really probably one of the most widely known car styles that you can get out today. And also, there's a large aftermarket for these cars. You can literally do anything you want to these cars, whether it's mild to wild or completely rebuilding it from the ground up. The E30 is one of the most popular tuner platforms if you are into the European car scene. But as much love as the E30 gets, it really benefits from having the E30 M3 as to really what everybody knows and truly believes is one of the best cars of all time. So you get one of the smaller siblings here, either powered by the 2.5-liter inline six, either the high revving or low revving variant, or you can get the M42 4-cylinder engine. And even though those platforms are reliable and capable, they certainly are not even close to what the E30 M3 really is. And it's once you bring up the M3 that the argument for the 325 or the 318, whether it's the I or the IS, really kind of starts to fall apart, because everybody knows that the M3 is one of the best cars of all time. Thank you, homologation. But these are not the same car. And people could try to argue, but these versions versus the M3 actually share very little in the way of any parts. Well, the E30 does have a lot going for it. The major issue is what I've addressed earlier, is the value of the cars. There are plenty of people who have stories about buying these cars for next to nothing and running them into the ground or whatever, but that's no longer the case. In fact, these cars have gotten extremely expensive to the point that you pretty much either have to own one as your only car if you're younger, or if you're getting into middle age, that it's quite an expense to actually purchase one. And so that's really the issue. The E30 itself is a great car. It's a platform you can do whatever you want with, but is it really worth $15,000 to get one that's sorted? I don't believe so. And really, that's the crux of the issue. When you look at how much it costs for an initial purchase of an E30, that is where the argument that it is one of the best cars out there really starts to fall on its face. Because for $15,000, there's plenty of other platforms out there now that are much more capable and way cheaper. And really, the E30 itself, stock out of the box, really is not that impressive of a platform. And while they're reliable and capable, it takes a lot of money to actually get these cars to produce numbers. And what I liken it to is really, it's the German version of a Fox body Mustang or an EG Honda Civic. And the one thing that all three of those platforms have in common is the fact that they're essentially Legos. You can pull it apart, you can put whatever you want in it, you can make it as fast as you want, and you can find them in any sort of scene that you want, whether it's time attack, whether it's a cars and coffee event, whether it's a road course build, an autocross build, a drag build, what have you. So all three of those platforms are very similar in that way. But where does that leave the E30 in greatest cars of all time? Well, it is an extremely capable platform, and you really can't go wrong in purchasing one and doing whatever you want with it. I don't believe it is one of the best cars of all time. Now, you can make an argument for the M3 being one of the greatest cars of all time, but there is a reason why you can get a standard E30 for $15,000 and an E30 M3 will fetch starting above six figures now. The E30 benefits and gets a negative rap from the legend that it has created. As I've said, they're wonderful cars to own, they're reliable, you can do whatever you want with them. But in today's world, where you have more capable platforms for way cheaper, I mean, you can get into V8 S4s for almost the same price that you can get an E30. It's a much more potent platform. You can get GTIs, you can get some Golf Rs, maybe even R32s. That kind of stuff is now getting to the same price point that an E30 is. And while an E30, as I've said, is a wonderful car, it is not the same as the rest. At this point, there is only one thing that the E30 has going for it more than any other platform, and that's the community. The E30 community is wonderful. The people are excellent. The car shows are cool. The cruises are great. And it is a very connected community. Essentially, anyone that owns an E30 will know in their local tri-state area pretty much how many E30s are there, who owns them, what colors they are, what events that they've seen these cars at. It's really a crazy and unique community. I'm glad to be a part of it. But that is the one way that the E30 does separate itself from other platforms. It really is just the community. The people in it are wonderful and they're quite quirky, and I mean that as a compliment. And while I could go blue in the face talking about how much I love the E30 platform, I mean, I've owned multiple. This very one here I've owned for roughly 8 years. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't own it. But I think a lot of the issue is people really make up this entire thing. Like I said, it's kind of like this legend that's grown, much like the Mark IV Supra from the 90s, that it's this entire thing that's built up around this car, and it really has no chance of living up to the hype that's been made. And a lot of the times, and the issue is, it's people that don't know anything about them. They've seen them, or they really want one, and they haven't had the opportunity to live with one on a daily basis. They haven't had the opportunity to tune one, really kind of see the power that they make. And the M20 is quite a capable engine. You can throw a eBay turbo on it and make 300 wheel horsepower pretty reliably, but that's kind of it. There is, unless you're doing a major engine swap, that's kind of like where you're getting with it. And most of the E30s you see out there are just kind of like, they're slammed to the ground, they throw some wheels on it, they shine it up, they make it look kind of cool. And, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But as a performance car, as a driver's car, they aren't the best of all time. They're probably not even the half best of all time. They are capable, but they're not that great. And as I've grown older and been exposed to more performance-oriented platforms, I would say that all of those have performed way better than the E30 could ever be. I can honestly say in my time, I used to be really big into Miatas. My first production year Miata that I had with just a suspension on it still could run circles around this E30. But the E30 is way better to live with day to day and just kind of live life with. So it's really up to you as what you think the best car for you would be. But E30 is a good car. It's just not the greatest of all time. I know God would not choose it, and this is not God's chariot. And with all that being said, I plan on keeping my E30 probably forever. I love the car. Never going to get rid of it. I still have lots of plans for it. But I think people need to be realistic about what their expectations are for this platform. So there you go. That's it. It's just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right or wrong. But I think it's a discussion that needed to happen, is I don't see a lot of people really talking about what the platform really is like. And it's fine, but not great. So as always, thank you for checking out the video on the channel. If you liked what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe. Peace.